पूरख विदाते सरदा मन के पूरे नानक दास यह सुख मांगे मुको कर संतन के दूरे.
So good morning and good evening. Let's begin the study circle. And before we begin, just taking a few moments to gather ourselves with the help of the mantra, with the help of the breath, centering ourselves with the breath so that we can be present in the present moment.
नानक दास यह सुख मांगे मुको कर संतन के दूरे.
Invoking Mother's presence and grace, praying that I can see a bit more than I already see with the help of the beautiful words of these masters and mystics.
नानक दास यह सुख मांगे मुको कर संतन के दूरे.
Thank you. So, as we know, in the study circle these days, we are taking up a compilation of Mr. A.S. Dalal called Looking from Within. So, last time we had taken up these two paragraphs, which comes under the category of the determining power is within. So, we read the first one and the second one. Just for an overlap, we'll read this paragraph and then take the new one for this week. So if anybody is willing, they can read it. Otherwise, I'll go.
Ma'am, namaskar. I can read it, sure.
Thank you.
Okay. In the play of the cosmic forces, the will in the cosmos, as one might say, does not always work apparently in favor of a smooth and direct line for the work or the sadhana. It often brings in what seems to be upheavals, sudden turns which break or deflect the line, opposing or upsetting circumstances, or perplexing departures from what had been temporarily settled or established. The one thing is to preserve equanimity and make an opportunity and means of progress out of all that happens in the course of the life and the sadhana. There is a higher secret will transcendent behind the play and will of the cosmic forces. A play which is always a mixture of things favorable and things adverse, and it is that will which one must wait upon and have faith in, but you must not expect to be always to understand its workings. The mind wants this or that to be done, the line once taken to be maintained, but what the mind wants is not at all always what is intended in a larger purpose. One has to follow indeed a fixed central aim in the sadhana and not deviate from it, but not to build on outward circumstances, conditions, etc., as if they were fundamental things. Sri Aurobindo. Um, ma'am, sorry, but do you mind if I read this again?
Yeah, you never have to ask.
Okay, thank you.
And
Looking from
while
within.
reading, if you want to just stop anywhere, if you have any reflections or concerns, you can stop in between.
Yes, ma'am. In the play of the cosmic forces, the will in the cosmos, as one might say, does not always work apparently in favor of a smooth and direct line for the work or the sadhana. It often brings in what seems to be upheavals, sudden turns which break or deflect the line, opposing or upsetting circumstances, or perplexing departures from what had been temporarily settled or established. The one thing is to preserve equanimity and make an opportunity and means of progress out of all that happens in the course of the life and the sadhana. There is a higher secret will transcendent behind the play and will of the cosmic forces. A play which is always a mixture of things favorable and things adverse. And it is that will which one must wait upon and have faith in. But you must not expect to be always a or to be able to be always able to understand its workings. The mind wants this or that to be done, the line once taken to be maintained, but what the mind wants is not at all always what is intended in a larger purpose. One has to follow indeed a fixed central aim in the sadhana and not deviate from it, but not to build on outward circumstances, conditions, etc., as if they were fundamental things. Sri Aurobindo. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jagas. Although we had already taken up this passage last time, just two, three things that stood out for me that I want to make sure we reflect on properly. There's something in our society, in our world, maybe I would say especially in India, and but I could be wrong. It's about being settled, right? Like every father wants their daughter, their son to be well settled, knowing that there is nothing called settled, right? And yet there is pain. There's so much pain and suffering for the, especially the parents, I would say, when they feel that their children are not, kind of following the conventional paths that would lead them towards settlement. So I think this is really important that, where it's said that it often brings in what seems to be upheavals, sudden turns which break or deflect the line, opposing or upsetting circumstances or perplexing departures from what had been temporarily settled or established, like knowing that everything is temporary when I am temporary, right? But I think somewhere I don't consider myself temporary because it feels that how will I live if I feel that? But it's not about feeling or thinking, it's a fact currently of our existence that death, for me, most likely is a certainty. So just invoking this point to think about, we don't have to say anything if there's nothing, but this settlement that we are working on, that we are working towards as children or as parents or as anything, how temporary is that settlement? And yet it gives me a lot of motivation to go towards, knowing fully well that all my settlements are temporary. I think it's really big thing for a person to realize. And I think, here comes the question that what does one ultimately want? If I'm happy being unsettled, why is everybody worried about me being not settled, right? Because ultimately, by settlement, through settlement, they want still, kind of happiness, they want contentment. I want happiness, I want contentment. And if settlement doesn't attract some people, I think we should question the need for drawing towards settlement. That was on this, invoking any reflections. And then this part, the mind wants this or that to be done, the line once taken to be maintained. But what the mind wants is not at all always what is intended in a larger purpose. One has to follow indeed a fixed central aim in the sadhana and not deviate from it, but not to build on outer circumstances, conditions as if they were fundamental things. Firstly, I say I have faith. I say I trust the God. We have been grown up hearing कि उसकी मर्जी के बिना तो एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता. And yet जो हमारे अंदर हिलता है when things seems negative or moving, we know that it's not, it is a truth of our existence, the anxieties, the worry, the fears. So what I think to be the best, now knowing that probably that's not the best, because if it was the best, I would have been content by now. I would have been at peace by now. So questioning my ability of judging what's the best for me and having a fixed central aim in the sadhana. So it is, I don't know, Mother or Sri Aurobindo who say that an aimless life is a miserable life, and on the quality of your aim would depend the quality of your life. So say, for example, if my aim is peace, and if somebody is saying something to me which I don't like to hear, am I choosing peace or am I choosing anger? Am I choosing, to retaliate? So one thing is big picture, I want peace, but my life is not reflecting that. Acharya Prashant, one of my favorites, living mystics of this time, he says कि बातें मत बनाओ, जीवन दिखाओ कैसा जी रहे हो, right? That if I say I want contentment, calmness, peace, and my every day is full of worry and chaos, then that means there is some disconnect, right? And it is my life. And if I will not move it towards what I want, if my actions, my daily moment to moment life, not big picture, अपने दिमाग में तो हम सब बहुत अच्छे हैं, we are all saints living in, I don't know, almost the Kailasha and leading good lives for a lot of time. But practically, how much peace there is in my life, how much instability or stability, we see that, we know that we don't have to ask anybody. We know our truths. It's just that I do now that I know that I don't know what is good, what is bad, and creating a aim, a short or a long term aim. Not talking about the materialistic aims, we are already too good at that. But what is my aim as a human on this planet? It sounds like, okay, what are you talking about? Array, I have so many other things to think about. But look at this question, right? What is my aim? I mean, what is my purpose here? I've come from somewhere, I don't know where. I'll go somewhere, I don't know where. Here I am struggling and striving and enjoying and but what not, which is great. But what is the purpose of my life? What could it be? Do I think about it? So, not to build on outer circumstances, conditions, etc., as if they were fundamental things. I was talking to a friend the other day from India, and she basically, she had a child who was giving 10th board. He was then giving, 12th ka board and stuff. So like she was a very, very, very devoted, dedicated mother whose whole life would be कि मेरे बच्चे को उठ के पानी का गिलास भी ना उठाना पड़े. And before he says anything, the thing should be like if you say cha, तो उतनी देर में चाय उसके सामने पड़ी हो, that kind of a thing. And she was really, she would not do anything for herself. She would feel stifled and claustrophobic. And yet she would say, no, 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 his education. That's so big to me. And then the child is, now in school, like out of school, in college, actually in Canada, surprisingly, out of all the places. So he's here. And then, we were talking to her and we were like that, now what? Like, what would you do? Very well educated and everything. She was like, अब, घर से निकलने का दिल नहीं करता. I want to do stuff, but I don't know. So, there it shows that the child was just an excuse, right? That I give myself to kind of say that, this is the reason why I can't. And there is someone whose three children would be giving board and they would be, I don't know, climbing Everest, for example, just giving extreme examples. But so not to depend so much on outer circumstances, following what we feel we want to do, what gives us the life, and knowing that my excuses, no matter how nice they look, it seems like such a humble cause. Arey, apne bacche ko, teasing up, I don't know. And yet, it's taking me away from what I would want to do because these are just excuses, and it's good to see them when we see them in others, we see them in ourselves too, if we are honest. Because what हैरानी होती है कि really did she just say that, and then you come to yourself and wonder कि अच्छा do I also do that, and then you always see. For me, I always see the places where I am trying to be clever or I have been trying to be. Yeah. Anything before we, yeah.
Ma'am, you know that passage I've just read, the more I read it, the more I feel it, the more I understand it. The first time I couldn't understand it fully, but um, I'll be honest that my life has always been aimless. Like, I've had aims, materialistic aims, um, that I didn't build. Those aims were, basically rational. Like people would tell me that, oh, this is what you need to aim growing up. बड़ा घर, बड़ा गाड़ी, बच्चे, wife and all. लेकिन ना, the good thing is जब step by step जब एक एक चीज आती रही मेरे पास, तो I'm getting it. I'm happy I got it. Then the next day I'm no longer happy again. फिर से वही भाग दौड़. So, so far that's how it has been, to cut it short. But right now I still don't know what my aim is, but I know, like I said last time, but I know that it's not in material things. And when I was reading through that passage, and when I compare my situation to the words that are written there, I find that, you know, in the last 1 month or so, I have something in my mind that I want to work towards, and there are so many distractions coming in. Like there are so many things that keep on telling me that, you know, I meet someone, someone talks around me. They're like, oh, you gotta marry, you have need to, you know, get a house, buy a house, and this that and all these things. And it is so easy for me at this point to be distracted, and it's only after a while that I realize that, okay, what am I doing? Like, why am I again going to the same old, you know, habits of, you know, running behind something that maybe I really don't need? And honestly, I just want to like this basically answers the question that I've had on why mind keeps on, you know, deviating from its line towards sadhana. But I want to also uh, uh, I want to have that patience, you know. Like if my mind has, let's say, 10 rooms, and I'm opening each door. Let's say I open only 3 doors, and I'm thinking to myself that that's all I have. And whatever the information I'm getting out of those 3 doors, I'm thinking, oh, this is what life is. And I'm stopping there. No more sadhana, nothing. So right now, what my mindset is that I don't know what my aim is, but I want to open all those doors in my mind through, you know, through meditation and through sadhana, so I can understand what my goal is. Because at least I'm happy that I know it's not in material things, so I know which way I have to walk towards. But yeah, the patience is something I'm fighting with day in and day out, every day. Because every day it tells me that, oh, you know, proud about myself. Oh, ab to ho gaya, bas, that's it, और कुछ नहीं करना. But I have to keep on telling it that, no, no, ruko nahi, और है, like, um, yeah. So it's very hard for me to to walk this path and to stay consistent, because I've never been that before. So yeah, I'll listen to further, and I'll I'll expect a little bit more explanation as well. Thanks.
I always appreciate your honesty, and I think that honesty is almost the first step, crucial step that is needed for me to change how I am or who I am. Because most of the time I keep justifying myself, right? Most of the time I keep protecting myself and my habits and my thoughts. But if I stand aside and I look at myself, I know there are a lot of wrongs that I want to make right. I mean, if I'm okay with them, it's good. But if I'm not, so the doors of the mind that you were talking about, it's just veils, right? The things that are there that I do, that I don't know myself, right? That I'm doing this, why I'm doing that, why. And the way you are looking at things and the way you are, you know, I mean, there is the aim is visible, although that you say there is no aim. Like aim is to simplify life. The aim is to actually find a aim, right? Which is worth living for. So yeah, that's beautiful. And again, how we say that we have walked so long in the opposite direction that firstly admitting that, oh, I had walked wrong, then standing that, okay, I don't want to walk in the wrong direction anymore. And then slowly, slowly, maybe turning and looking where the right direction is. It takes a lot of effort, lot of sincerity, and one has to be kind to oneself and trust that, whatever I did also is the reason why I'm here. It made me who I am. When I say I know it's not material, the truth is I have started doubting that maybe it's not material. Because the knowing of not material, then we would not be even sitting here. Like then we would, I don't know, be elsewhere. We even that doubt to come is really, 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 it's like just a desire changes, right? Like firstly, maybe it wanted a big car, and now it wants a deeper breath, more concentration, more patience. These are desires too, right? We don't stop desiring, but it's beautiful to turn the desires into something which can take me to some place higher, right? Some place lighter. Let's not talk about higher or lower, but yeah. Yeah, anything before we move on?
Yeah, ma'am, just wanted to add a couple more things that, um, Nirakar uncle, I always, that he's the person who introduced us to um, Mother and Aurobindo. And he would always tell me that mother said money is always to money is important. Mother never said money is not important. But she also said that money is for only for divine work. It is not for human desires. And I never believed it. And honestly, I never believed it. I would say that, I would tell my dad that, why is he talking to me like that? Because he did it. That's his choice. That's not my choice. Because I'm looking for something else. I'm looking for something materialistic. That's what my mindset was. That was exactly what I told my father last year. That why is he talking to me like this? I'm not liking it. And now I don't know. I love the things he told me. Everything rings in my head. And also one thing I've noticed is the sensitivity of जैसे मतलब my English is so bad. जैसे I think last week, I was in this, I was listening, I was reading and all. And at one point, no, I had this pride in my head and I was talking to my mother and I was talking so much nonsense, so much nonsense. I was talking about, how this is, how that, and it was not necessary. And the very next day, I reacted to a situation in a way that I would not react. And then I came back into my room. I sat, and then I just have a photo of mother in the drawer. I just took it out and said, "Okay, so abhi laga jhatka. So I need to quiet. I need to stay quiet. I need to calm down." So that is there. That is there. Now, even though I'm still deviating, like I've always been, um, I am able to feel the shocks or feel the kind of direction that mother is giving me. So that is very nice, very good for me.
Yeah. So, Deepa and Vasu, in case anything from you guys, any questions, any word that probably is unfamiliar at all, you could let us know. Otherwise, we proceed. Yes, Vasu.
Uh, Definitely, I think that piece, it's always a challenge when you want to sort of want things your way, like you set your mind to something and you want things to go like that. And then there is some bigger force that's working, and you just have to place your faith in it, which I find personally sometimes very challenging because I tend to always want to know the why. Why is this not working? But why does it have to happen this way? And so there are so many questions. So now I'm trying to practice that, hard though it is, to accept and embrace that I tried my best. Everything is not in my control. And I have to accept and just have faith to go with the flow. And whatever is out there and is working for or working in my best interest. It won't make sense now, but maybe it'll make sense in, when we just look back on it. So that's what I would like to share.
Yes, thank you. You said you try to have faith, right? When we say
Yes.
we,
It's not that
yeah,
I don't have faith, is that just to have that trust, that I have to keep reminding myself that
mm,
you say you have faith, and then when you do this, that means somewhere you're not having that faith, right? Like, you just
yeah,
have to get back into the flow. Just get back, like a reminder.
yeah. So that, this definitely means कि अभी खुद पे बहुत भरोसा है ना? जब खुद पे भरोसा उठेगा, तब किसी और पे भरोसा होगा, right? Like that kind of a thing, that if I still feel that I am planning, you said we don't control everything. And the truth is we control nothing. But slowly, slowly, slowly we see that in life. Until then we are kind of just entertaining ourselves with the ideas. Yes, please.
No, no, go ahead. I'm just unmuted, but I want to hear you out. So please do go ahead.
Yeah. So, Vasu, I actually had a, near-death experience. I was struck by lightning. And when I was struck by lightning, the lightning, when it hit me, it entered me through my ankles. There was a very strong force that pushed me back, like I was on a beach. And I remember being in the air, flying with such a force, and wondering and actually laughing that this is the control I have on my life. I say, this is my life and I plan it and I will take it where I want to. And just see, this is how it ends. Like zero control over the body, zero control over the force. So, it's said that we all need wake up calls, right? We need wake up calls to realize that what we are thinking to be true, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? And to see the bigger picture. So I think just to be open, just to be factual, कि इतना मैंने plan करा, this is where I wanted to be. This is what I thought this would give me. Does it? Has it? So I think when we just start from that, we go there, we sit in that space, then that dawning comes itself that नहीं मैंने तो ये सोचा था बट हो ये गया और अब देखो उसकी वजह से अब मैं यहाँ हूँ which happened, it was so great, the things I thought were like miracles in my life or actually I in hindsight I feel actually didn't really help me. The disasters made me who I am, for example. So just being more open to the stories, the happenings of my life and others, and wondering if I'm thinking this, is it true? Is it true? Just that, like it really helps. I just say that.
Thank you for sharing that, Karuna. It's just phenomenal. I know that what you shared, that you think that you have so much control over things, and then you have to have that kind of wake up call. And believe me, I've had more than my share of wake up calls and lots of kick on my backside. But I am let's say like I'm a late bloomer, or I have to have so many, so I get those really hard knocks because I don't learn generally on the first two times. So then I have to get a nice kick, and then I learn. So I've had lots of those wake up calls. When I said control, it's like certain things, in the sense that how I choose to respond to somebody or my own emotions, right? That is in my control. uh, Outside of that, or let's say the kind of boundaries that I put, that is in my control. Now, it's not in my control whether the other person violates those boundaries. Like, that's not in my control. However, I have to establish. So certain things I believe are in my control. My thoughts, I don't know. That's again debatable. Like, see, I I can see you because I was almost going there, and I was like, I know Taruna is going to say, really, are our thoughts in our control? So I aborted that attempt. But what I'm saying is that yes, definitely the thoughts come, right? Like how much energy we choose to spend on, that's in our control. Um, but yes, definitely that I really have to keep reminding um, that I have to have faith. I have to continue with that faith. Why do I forget that when every time I'll go and I'll pray, or I have these kind of lessons, and I'm sitting for one now, and I take all this takeaway, then why do I then just forget it at the time when I need it the most? Why I have this doubt in my head always, the unknown. You almost want to control, like, as much as you can minimize the unknown, because the unknown is something that's scary, right? Because that is like, this is not in my control. You don't want to keep everything in your control. So yeah, but thank you for sharing that. It's a good reminder.
During college, I used to volunteer in a mental health institute in India. And there I interacted with some very young patients who were suffering from, I don't know, say bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and other things. And it was all down to the hormones. Okay, this person is suffering this because this hormone is overactive, this underactive, this. And when, we have some hormones up and down, our PMSs and stuff, we see that how our reactions, our angers, our things switch. So if I'm able to be polite, honestly, that too is grace. That, okay, I have a, like politer endeavor, I don't know, that nature that is maybe a bit polite. But that too, to take it on me, that I am polite. I'm sorry if I'm just overstretching this. I don't need to, but slowly we see that too is grace, that the way I'm able to think, feel, answer, behave, react is too also decided by the chemicals and the hormones. And yeah, so yeah, I think a lot can be said, but let's move further. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, if anybody is willing, they can read the next passage. Otherwise,
I can read. Are we reading from there are to minimum?
yes, we can read the whole. Yeah, I think let's stop at minimum. Yes.
Okay. There are very many things one does and about which one is not in the habit of thinking beforehand. When the circumstance comes, one obeys it, so to say. And indeed, these things, like almost everything one does in life, are not important in themselves. The only thing that matters is the attitude with which they are done. The fact that you do something because that action is present there before you for one reason or another, and that you are, so to say, always obliged to act as long as you are in the outer life, all this has a certain importance from the point of view of the management of life. If these acts are liable to have far reaching consequences in life, as for example, getting married or going to live in one place or another, or taking up one occupation or another, these things are generally considered important. And they are so to a certain extent. But even for them, from the point of view of yoga, everything depends much more on the attitude one takes than on the thing itself. And so, above all, for all the very small actions of daily life, the importance is reduced to a minimum.
Thank you. Again, it's kind of a reiteration of what we had read before, that circumstances, situations, although they look big, but if we really see, they don't really make or break us. And what is being stressed in this section is the only thing that matters is the attitude with which they are done. So we put really huge stakes on everything, the things that they was say, it was being said about, say, marriages, locations, work, and all. So it is being said, let me just read it. The fact that you do something because that action is present there before you for one reason or another, and that you are, so to say, always obliged to act as long as you are in the outer life. All this has a certain importance from the point of view of the management of life. If these acts are liable to have far reaching consequences, for example, getting married, going to live in one place, or taking up one occupation or another, these things are generally considered, I would say, very, very important. And they are so to a certain extent that even for them, from the point of view of yoga, everything depends much more on the attitude one takes than on thing itself. Now again, I'm just thinking of something, Acharya Prashant had said. He says that it's not about it's not about if you're winning or losing, it's about what you are winning or losing at. So if I seem to be really accomplished and winning, in these outer petty things, my winnings don't really take me anywhere. तो he says कि देखो लड़ाई किस चीज की हो रही है और किस चीज में जीत रहे हो और हार रहे हो. So I mean, all these things, these events of our everyday life, they seem really important, and yet here it is being said that the most important thing is your attitude. It's like, a video game that every decision you make just puts you into a new screen, and then you have to decide where you have to go from there. But we keep on fighting about the situation I want to be put in, not realizing that the important thing is, what am I doing with it? What am I doing with it? I remember when I was in the US, I had the opportunity to meet with Sri Ravi Shankar on one-to-one basis, which was very huge at that time. And I'd asked him, like, should I stay here? I don't really want to. I want to go back to India. And he said, you want to stay? He said, stay. I said, but I don't want to stay. He said, then come. So with the stay, and the come were of absolutely equal tone and stress. So I asked him that, does it not matter whether I'm there or I'm here? He said, no, you matter. The place doesn't. So that I did, I did go back because I wanted to, but I didn't fully get it then, that how can, the place not matter? And yet slowly, like Jagan was saying, you hear the same thing, and after some years, something's gone. There's Kabir ji who says that, rehna nahi, des begana hai. Like he talks about the earth, right? That I come and I build my forts and my castles, but this is not my home. I don't stay here. I will not stay here. And here I am spending years and worrying कि अरे मैं इधर रहूं कि उधर रहूं, वहां ये है वहां वो है. So again, just what the things I am occupied with, but they don't really take me anywhere. I mean, if I have to worry, let me worry for my aim if I must worry. That's why, the importance of the aim. It helps us not getting too distracted in the small things here and there, which in the big picture, because, they are all transitory things. But in the big picture, like it is being said here, it matters not. And so, above all, for all the very small actions of daily life, the importance is reduced to a minimum.
So I have a question, Taru.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So in a similar vein to what Jagan has said, that we keep these targets for ourselves through life, that you have to study hard, get into a good course, get married, get a good job. And after all of these, running behind all these targets, there comes a point in your life when you feel, okay, I got it. You built your ego about it. You're proud of your accomplishments. Your parents are proud of it, but still you realize that it was not enough in your life. Um, and you realize that maybe you kind of oriented yourself to something which was not so much um, about finding yourself in this process. It was just to kind of, make sure that the society approves that, yes, she's achieved this, she's done this. It is so much an external thing than an internal accomplishment. But having known that and having got that knowledge now at this point in life, I still see myself doing what my mom did to me in terms of expecting the same from my kids as well. That you should get into good courses, good universities. You should fend for yourself. You should get good jobs and all of that, and not be dependent on us and everything. But what more could I have told them? What more could I have kind of reoriented with this knowledge that I have acquired now? Changed, not changed, but at least given them a direction in terms of goals for later when they don't come again to this point which I am. Otherwise, we're just hamsters again, right? Going in the same loop again and again. So, what more could I have done?
Yeah, Deepa, that's an excellent question. And Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, has a lot of beautiful talks on the same topic. I'll share one or two with you. It's basically, we carry so much in our genes, and without us even wanting to, we behave just like our ancestors, our grandmothers, our mothers have behaved. As a child, I might have hated something my mom did. And I'll share something here which is embarrassing, but it's good for us that, at times, my mother had 4 children, and that was a huge deal. I don't know how she did it. One seems too much to me. At times, when she would probably get really frustrated, she would start hitting herself. Like, just maybe for 2 to 3 minutes, just to, take out that frustration. I remember when she was walking and one of us had spilled water in front of the kitchen, and she slipped pretty badly, and then she got up, and we thought ab dant pitegi. But instead of that, she just, it was just, there must have been so much pain and frustration for her to do that. And about a couple of years back, something happened. I was talking to my child, and something happened, and I gave myself a tight slap. And suddenly I was shocked. I was like, where did this come from? That, oh my God, like, that memory, that instance was very traumatic for me when I would see my mother hitting herself, right? And she didn't mean anything bad. It was just too much. You can't hit them. You don't want to, and yet you want to do something, and bam. So it was like I did it, and my eyes grew wide open that, oh my God, it's just the genes again living in me. So what Thai says is that the cycle can stop with me, right? Like if I have seen, like say right now, if I truly believe that materialistic gains have a limited thing, right? Like following what everybody is doing. Like I have been part of conversations where one parent is asking the other parent, what is your child doing? And the parent is saying, Acha, he's doing this. And the other parent is like, अरे अरे उसको छोड़, उसको कोई robotics में जा, सारा scope आजकल robotics में है. So, I mean, forget what the child wants, what he resonates with, but पैसा robotics में है, तो वहां जाओ, right? But हम ये भूल जाते हैं कि पैसे का, मतलब you tell me, let's do this. What do you ultimately want for yourself? Don't talk philosophy, just talk regular stuff. What do you want? And for your children, what would be the end product of all the doings?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
I think at the end, we all just want that we be happy in what we're doing. I don't want them in despair, in stress. Maybe they get the best jobs, but if they're just so burnt out, they're so stressed and um, unhappy about maybe being in the right job and yet not finding the time to do things that they feel happy about. And we see so many accomplished people, and I've seen so many like around me, um, uh, doing the jobs that they always wanted, being in a position that they always wanted, and yet so um, unhappy because it could be the smallest thing that they want to do, and yet they don't find time to do it. So I would rather want them um, to be happy to do stuff that they want, to find that time, even if it is small, small activities, even if they are in pursuing the stuff that most of the society does pursue in terms of job and position, but still being able to keep that balance of life and work. I think I would be happy if they get that, because I think somewhere that has been skewed in our generation. Um, Maybe because there is no time, honestly, because I think we are one of a generation where even when we have the free time, there's so much of input in terms of emails, messages, social media. I don't see like we have even half an hour to ourselves sometimes. So even when office is finished, I might be responding to a client email. I might still have something that, oh, I have to write that email, I have to do that report and things like that. So I think I just want them to have time. I want them to have time to be able to paint, to read a book, to take a walk. It could be something as small as this, just to have a balance.
Yeah, and that is what anybody who is a bit factual about their existence would say. That ultimately, I just want them to be happy. I want them to be content, right? But the problem is that I already have images about what that contentment would look like. My son, when he'll be the CEO of Google, when he'll be sitting on that chair and he'll come in the newspapers, oh my God, how happy would he be? Would he be? For example, right? I know that what will make them happy, or what are the things that make people happy, because in the news I read, in the news I hear, in the social media, when I have seen somebody looking happy here, something in my mind takes, oh, like this you become happy, this botox injection makes you look happy, or like vacationing in Maldives or Hawaii makes you happy, अच्छा अच्छा तभी वो खुश है, right? What bullshit, right? Like, I remember that we had shifted houses in India. We're moving from a big one to a smaller one, and we wanted to make something nicer for my child, कि he doesn't feel कि अरे छोटे घर में move कर रहे हैं and stuff. And I was going through some catalogs online and stuff, and I saw that there was this thing, a bookcase along with a small step-up sofa types that looked really nice. Although we didn't need it, like we really didn't need it. We already have a bookcase, but it felt really nice. And I was, I have a friend who lives in Aurobindo. I'm very close to her. So I sent her those pictures and I said, ये देखिए 3-4 shortlist करे हैं. Or especially this one I really like. And that particular one had a small child very happily sitting on that sofa. So she asked me that, are you sure you are liking the product? Because it would have, I don't know, costed a lot of money to have it made. Or are you just liking that smile on that child? Because trust me, that your child is already happy. The smile is already in his heart. He doesn't need this. So just make sure you're getting it built for the right reason. And I was shocked when she said that because it made no sense. But in about 5 minutes, I was like, yes. I think if that smiling child was not on that sofa, I would not have even stopped there. How weird is that, right? Because that is, I'm just looking for happiness in places, people, but not asking myself or him or her what makes you happy. Like if a child, say, goes for a class, a hobby class maybe, or a proper class, I never ask them that. Mostly, I don't ask them, was it fun? Did you like it? Was it fulfilling? I mostly ask, what did you learn? Right? Like somehow, because I know that learning will make them and be what will. It's like, small children, they start getting affinity towards something. We put them in their classes. अच्छा ये पसंद है, चलो इस क्लास में जाओ, फिर तो हो सकता है ये बड़े होके डिजाइनर बन जाए. अच्छा म्यूजिक पसंद है, चलो चलो म्यूजिक में डालो, हो सकता है नेक्स्ट लता मंगेशकर हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वी जस्ट कीप hatching on. So I think just giving this message that ultimately we want happiness. So if you can do what makes you happiness, even in your everyday, right? Even in your work. It's like, they say that quote that if you love what you do, you would not work a single day in your life. सुनने में तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है, बट कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करना है ना, एवरी डे में ऐसे ही पास करना है ना, कि डोंट सी व्हाट द अदर्स आर डूइंग, डोंट सी, बिकॉज दोज थिंग्स वी एडजस्ट, राइट? लाइक यू सेड दैट अगर 2 मिनट की राहत नहीं है तो मैं वो क्या करूं जो $1 million मेरे बैंक में पड़े हैं, मतलब सीरियसली दैट विच आई विल लीव एंड गो. So I think again at a settle, at a practical level, sitting with oneself, having that thing, I have now learned it. So now let me pass it on so that they don't have to waste another 20, 25 years of their life to reach where I am and then say, oh, मतलब ना contentment तो अंदर ही थी, मैं तो बाहर देख रहा था, right? There's this very beautiful quote, I'm paraphrasing, by Khalil Gibran. It's one of my favorite. He says that they called me mad because I don't sell my days for gold. But I call them mad because they don't know my days are worth much more. Right? अगर आप कोई भिखारी बैठा है, जैसे if he's begging and he'll say, they don't know my days are worth in gold, I would judge him, right? I would say कि अरे है ही नहीं तो कैसे बोल रहा है. बट उस सेंट को पता है, उस साधु को पता है, उस भिखारी को पता है कि जो उसके पास वो है वो हमारे पास मोस्ट लाइकली नहीं है. सो जस्ट नॉट सेइंग कि सड़क पे बैठ जाओ, बट जनरली दैट valuing what you love, what you like, and not just following the rat race. If it gives me happiness, if it gives me contentment, if I want to follow it, I must follow it, because otherwise I'll feel कि अरे follow नहीं करा. But otherwise, so I don't know why I'm having so many anecdotes. There was this movie a very long time back, Amir Khan and Rani Mukherjee. Usme Amir Khan is a very poor boy guy, and Rani Mukherjee lives in a high rise, very trendy and stuff. मेरे सारे मूवीज के एग्जाम्पल्स ना 10 साल पुराने ही होते हैं, मैंने सारी मूवीज देखी हुई हैं. तो उसमें आमिर खान गेट्स इनवाइटेड टू हर रूफ टॉप, and she's saying something and then she starts crying about her life, about what has happened to her. And Amir Khan is so shocked. And she's like, why are you so shocked? It's okay. And he was like, नहीं मैं तेरी कहानी सुन के नहीं हैरान हो रहा हूँ. I'm sorry that this happened to you. But मैं ये हैरान हो रही हूँ कि जब मैं नीचे खड़ी होकर इन ऊंची इमारतों को देखता था तो मुझे लगता था कि यहाँ के लोग तो बहुत खुश होंगे. Right? And that's what we do, right? We just assume. And yet he's the one who's happy and she's the one who's crying, कि अरे मेरे साथ ये हुआ, मेरे साथ वो हुआ. So just becoming more conscious of how the world is actually working and not what I think or how I think or how I was told or how I assumed or how the society tells me the world works, because now I can see it for myself. I'm not a kid anymore. I got many body movies listening. Sorry about that. Yes, Vasu.
So my older one, she is 23. She's going to be 23. And she is telling me, she says, Mom, you know, it's better that at this age we have a quarter life crisis than we go on another 2 decades and have a midlife crisis. Let's explore why people have midlife crisis. They keep working nonstop because of maybe what their parents wanted them to do, what the society wants them to do. So they keep going robotically. And then they burn out. And then they come to a point in their 40s, and why we call them the midlife crisis. And then they have all those very big questions of life. What am I doing? Why am I here? Am I happy? So what she said was, she said, instead of going all that way and having that reactive thing, why can we not try to preempt that midlife crisis? And in our 20s, try to really figure out, take some time off and take a little break and really figure out, where do we want to go in life? What do we want to do? So what happened was that, not with anybody's pressure, but she was earlier aiming to go to med school. So she gave her MCAT and she scored very well and everything. And then I don't know what happened. We just had so many personal situations, in the last few years. And it made us really think and reflect on so many things. So we really decided very consciously to slow down the pace of our life, my children included. And so one day I just told her, I said, I don't know why, something, maybe it's the maternal instinct or what. I just felt that my daughter is just pressurizing herself, but she's not internally happy to pursue this med track. So I just told her, I said, listen, you know what? I think you really should do what you feel from inside, like your calling. You should feel very fulfilled. I think you should really be happy in life. I think that's important. Not to say that, the economics of it is not important, because we have to live in this world, right? So you have to pay the bills and everything. But over and above that, I think you really should be internally satisfied. You should feel like going to work. So what is that thing that you want to do? Take some time off, figure out. And in our Desi culture, this thing of gap year is a little bit weird. We're like, what do you mean by gap year? You just keep working, just you graduate, then you do the next thing, then you do the next thing, and you go on and maybe burn out by late 30s or 40s. So then she took stock of it. And then I just told her, I said, listen, you know what? You don't have to go to med school if you don't want to. Okay, never be pressured that, oh, what's mom going to think? Mom will think, oh my God, I came to Canada, my hopes are dashed and everything. No. We didn't come to Canada for somebody to get into engineering, somebody to get into med school. The typical things I hate to sound, racist, but, most of us Desi parents want to do. And that's really not what I came to Canada for. So I really wanted them to do what they have to do. So anyway, she told me, when I said that to her, she said, Mom, you cannot imagine what a big load off my chest that statement of yours makes. So I said, and I felt actually not very good, because I didn't know that she was under so much pressure when I had never told her that you have to go to med school. So, this unspoken thing, or, like, oh my God, I'm going to disappoint my parents. What are they going to say? And, and I think that's very, very sad, because firstly, she'll be driven to take up somebody else's seat who really wanted to maybe become a doctor. And then she'll do that and she'll slog. And then maybe if she's lucky, if she stops ever finishing learning, then she might have a life maybe when she is, I don't know, mid-40s or something. She might earn money, but she might not really be ever very happy, because she has to work ridiculous hours. So if that passion of hers, whatever she wanted, can be channeled through some other vocation, through some other job and other career, why can we not do that? Why do we need to only do this? So that's when she took stock, and now she is, really happy because she's doing a very different career, and she's doing her master's. She's going to do a master's, and this is her choice. So that makes everybody happy. So I think there are so many things that, like I've learned from my own experience, and like what you said, that, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We mostly tend to, even knowingly or unknowingly, I think we just sort of mirror our parents' personality in some ways. The genes, blame it on the genes, I don't know. So yes, that's what I wanted to really share, that I think at the end of it, um, and I love this. I think that's the reason that I feel that it's a really, I'm so thankful that, I also think, I don't know what it is, like a divine intervention, that you just came, in the group telling about about this group. And I was just like, wow, this is just so timely. So I just love, because every time I sit in any one of the sessions, I just take away so many things. And I just love how this whole thing flows. That you just need to, I think there's so much of the soul and, those things that you generally don't talk about in normal life, right? We don't just stop. We don't just pause to see where we are going in life. We just go, 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 go. It's like a car with no brakes. Sorry, that's the very long and short of it. I just wanted to share.
Yeah, that was beautiful, Vasu. Thank you for sharing. And it was a beautiful way, and it's so nice that she could stop when she did. There's one thing, you said that instead of midlife crisis, let's have a, I don't know, quarter life crisis or something. And just challenging or just questioning that we don't need to have a crisis. That is also a possibility, right? If our conviction is strong as to I don't want to, sell my kids short. I don't want them to go through what I did. And if I take an active stance, like say mother had done a lot of work on education. There are so many beautiful schools in Pondicherry, in Aurobindo. Amazing. Even, my child, in Gurgaon, he went to a school inspired by the teachings of Mother and Shri Aurobindo. And it was a Gurukul style school, no grading till 8th class. And I remember, I wasn't familiar with Mother and Shri Aurobindo. And I was just, he was like 3, and I was just looking to see where I can put him. And I called, a couple of schools, and he had never obviously been separated from me. And they said, okay, you come, you drop him, and then you go. And I was like, but he has never been away from me. And they said that, but that's what all kids do. They cry for 2, 3 days, 4 days, they'll cry, and then they become very happy. You don't worry about it. And then it felt odd, it felt traumatic for the child. And in this, I was just, again, just we went for an interview. I was just asking, and they said in our school, till the child says bye to you smilingly and says, now go, you will, even if you have a business, you're in office, you're working, we will not let you go. Like there'll be a chair outside his class, and then slowly they moved you a bit further into the waiting area so that the child feels assured that you are there. I thought that was very beautiful. I mean, that was just one of those things. And in addition to that, again, the basic principle is that nothing can be taught. So, especially in mother school in Pondicherry, there is no fixed curriculum. They let the child explore whatever they want to explore, and the children just excel. There's no grading, there's no GPA. Yet, I would say 90% of the children they study in excellent universities in the US and other countries. They work, and then almost all of them, almost all, they go back, they give 4, 5 years to the school, they are volunteers so that they can pass on what they learn to children and then go wherever they want to. I mean, that too is my possibility in today's world. Just having them just fly and run and be easy and not let my stress or worries passing on to them. And that is only possible if I don't let stress or worry, kind of affect me on a very daily basis. So if they see that, my mom, my dad, they are just living and they value happiness, then they too start valuing happiness, genes as well as environment. I remember when we used to be studying, our dad actually used to disturb us and say, "अरे कितना पढ़ोगे, चलो चलो बाहर जाके ये करते हैं वो करते हैं." And we would find it surprising कि बड़े जी पापा है, बाकी सबको को तो इतना प्रेशर होता है, मतलब पास तो हो जाओगे ना, 40 तो आ जाएंगे ना, चलो चलो, लेट्स गो टू मामी's house and bua's house. So we had a very fun childhood and very low grades, especially in the junior years. And then obviously, you it becomes a bit for your own self, you want to study, but I don't have to fall, I don't have to have a breakdown. That is my possibility.
Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful indeed. I think that's what you mentioned about why even have that quarter life crisis. And that's exactly my point is that, and I really dream about this, even when it comes, I think, to education. I think our system is so messed up because, there's so many things which doesn't even make sense. Once again, I keep questioning, why are we doing this? What's the connection? How is this ever going to be useful? Like everybody, it's like almost like a factory, it's everybody churning out the students, they have no interest. They don't even know why they're doing something and you're just doing it. So I think that's on a different topic. I mean, a different conversation altogether. But I think if you can apply those learning in your everyday world and become like global citizens, almost like translate that teaching and apply it to your day-to-day life, I think that's more valuable, so you can just be better human beings. I mean, like I've really slowed up from what I was. If anybody knows me at that time, I used to be being a very strict mom, and grades were very important and everything. Maybe it was something because I, according to society, didn't really outshine so much. So for me, I was like, hey, I don't want my children to be in the same kind of a thing. But when you are in your 50s, like I am, these things really don't matter. You really think that what do you really want out of your life? And I just I look at the youngsters in this group, and I always say this, that I just love how they think. I just love that in their 20s and 30s, they have so many questions and introspection. And I think that is really, to me, that, I'm no guru, but I'll say that they're just on the right path. They're on the right path because they're questioning, where am I going? The moment you can look inward, like how these young people are looking, you literally got, your first step and a key to your enlightenment, I would say.
And yet I have a choice, right? The school system is messed up. And yet there are children studying in the school of, say, J. Krishnamurti in California in South India. There are mother schools. I mean, everything is available. But do I have the guts to give up the glitter and the gold and, go and settle in a small town in Pondicherry and give my children the education that they deserve? That too is a choice I'm making. So I just more on me than anybody. But
I would love to, Tarun. I don't know, my teenager, I have a typical teenager. So, right now she's a typical teenager. So I don't know whether she'll ever want to go to Pondicherry and, that kind. I think she I don't know whether she would. My older one and I are more on that. Like we could be very bohemian and, literally just live, like travel and live. If I could, I'd just tell my daughter, I told her, I said, hey, listen, you really have to do this high school. Can we not just do a home school and travel around the world? Let's do this. Why do we have to? She's like, she's still not, like, she's in that phase now, like my friends and everything. So I said, okay, another 4 more years, you graduate, and then I'll take my backpack and go.
yes, Jen.
Yeah. Ma'am, I was never into books. I've said this so many times. But growing up, I used to be so angry. When like my parents were very easy with my education. Like they wanted me to go to an easy school, but it was my choice to go to some, you know, bad school. But I was always angry at people that there was a very close friend of mine, still close, and if he didn't get, let's say, 95%, or if he didn't pass an IIT, entrance test, the way he was being treated by his, friends and family members, I used to be so angry that, how can someone constrain a person's life just by that one exam? And I used to think that maybe because because I maybe that's because I'm incapable of passing it. So I'm just making reasons that why are they being so serious and all. Then then one day my father, I'm not sure if I remember it correctly, but Sri Aurobindo during the colonial time he went to England to study, and if I remember it correctly, he was getting 600 rupees per month in those days, and that's a lot of money back in those days. And he still, the moment he stepped into India, he wanted to do something very different, entirely different. So I don't know which book uh, you know um, like which I don't know if there is any book that shows his journey. Maybe if there is, I would really love to read it. But the mindset of a person, of how much he has achieved to go to England in during those times and to study and to have a successful career and still come back to India and to struggle. Freedom fighting is not something that he'll sit in a really comfortable room and people will serve him things. He knew already that it's going to be, there's going to be fighting, there's going to be people, hurting them and all that. But what kind of a mindset does like what is a process that a person goes through, and he literally stops all other opinions and he just goes in the direction that he wants to go. If you know any book of Sri Aurobindo, yeah, please suggest me one.
Gagan, you love the book I gave you. You read that.
Yeah, I actually am still in the beginning.
Yeah, you read that. You
Sure.
read it.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
So we can wrap this up. Just what going through what we just went through, just the first paragraph only. So it says there are very many things one does and about which one is not in the habit of thinking beforehand. When the circumstances come, one obeys it, so to say, and indeed these things, like almost everything one does in life, are not important in themselves. The only thing that matters is the attitude with which they are done. I think we have covered it. And these things are generally considered important and they are so to a certain extent. Even for them, from the point of view of yoga, everything depends much more on the attitude one takes than on the thing itself. And so, above all, for all the very small actions of daily life, the importance is reduced to a minimum. And I think that once I start realizing fully that I am the product of whatever choices I have made, and I can choose different. When I stop saying that I'm a victim of my circumstances and not the creator of them, I think then, not the victim, but the creator of them. And I have a choice, no matter how much I might like to say I don't, a lot of times I do. So the attitude is what takes me where, it has got me here and will take me if I want to go somewhere else. So we'll continue with the same passage next time. So thank you so much for joining in. So the time for us has changed. I'm happy you guys notice it's 9 p.m. now because in India, otherwise 5:30 a.m. was quite early, although nobody has joined in from India today. And any last comments? Okay, so just taking a last few breaths of gratefulness. It's beautiful to have companions on this path. Like Vasu was sharing, it's a blessing to find some people who do want to look at life straight on and question the whys and choose where one wants to go. So thanking Grace, thanking the divine for this blessing of this beautiful companionship. May all beings be well, happy, and move towards a higher and higher aim in their lives. Praying for everybody's happiness and peace. Thank
Thank you so much.